You ever been in a discussion that just completely goes off the rails? It happens all the time. Arguments often fail long before anyone even notices. And it's not because people aren't smart, it's because the very structure of our reasoning can just quietly break down. Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where today we're going to dive into the system behind our arguments. Right? It's a feeling we all know so well. You're trying to have a real conversation, but it feels like you're speaking two completely different languages. The whole thing just gets frustrating, it goes in circles, and in the end, it just feels broken. So what is actually going on here? Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's use a powerful metaphor. Think of any argument like a game of chess. There are rules you're supposed to follow, there are strategic moves you can make, and, this is the crucial part, there are traps. The best players, they aren't just reacting. They see the whole board, they recognize the patterns, and they can spot those traps from a mile away. Well, these traps in the game of argument, they have a name: logical fallacies. Now, a fallacy isn't just getting a fact wrong. It's more fundamental than that. It's a breakdown in the structure of the reasoning itself. It's basically an illegal move that makes the whole argument invalid, even if the conclusion just so happens to be correct. And these illegal moves, they basically break down into two main types. On one hand, you've got formal fallacies. Think of these as errors in the blueprint of the argument. The wiring is just plain wrong. But on the other hand, you have informal fallacies, and these are way sneakier. The structure might look totally fine, but the content itself is deceptive. It's using tricks instead of actual logic. Let's look at a classic example of a formal fallacy, just so you can see what I mean. It starts with two statements that are totally true. All pigeons are birds, and Tweety is a word. The conclusion it draws is, therefore, Tweety is a pigeon. But hold on a second. That conclusion doesn't actually follow, does it? Tweety could be a canary or an eagle or any other kind of bird. The logical structure itself is just broken. Informal fallacies, though, these are the real tricksters of the argument world. They don't rely on a busted logical structure, they rely on faulty content. These are the rhetorical sleights of hand you see literally every single day. Arguments designed to bypass your brain and go straight for your feelings or just distract you entirely. So let's get practical. We're going to look at 3 of the most common illegal moves you're going to run into. And I promise, once you learn to spot them, you are going to start seeing them absolutely everywhere. All right, first up is the ad hominem. It's Latin for to the person. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of dealing with what someone is actually saying, the substance of their argument, you just attack them personally. It's a total diversion, a classic. And look, this isn't some newfangled internet debate tactic. This is ancient. Get this. Back in ancient Rome, the famous orator Cicero was arguing a case, and his opponent just couldn't beat his logic. So what did he do? He tried to discredit him personally, repeatedly asking, "Cicero, who's your father?" It was this nasty jab at his humble origins. It had zero to do with the case, but it was designed to undermine the man himself. This image here just captures it perfectly. You're not playing the game of chess anymore. You've totally abandoned the rules, and you're just throwing a piece at your opponent. You're attacking the player, not the game. Okay, our second illegal move is the appeal to common belief, sometimes called the bandwagon fallacy. And man, this one is everywhere. It's the simple but totally flawed idea that, hey, if a whole lot of people believe something, it must be true. It's confusing popularity with truth.
But I mean, come on, history is just littered with examples of the majority being dead wrong. You know that old line, they all laughed at Christopher Columbus when he said the world was round? Well, the common belief back then was that the world was flat. The crowd was very confident, and the crowd was very wrong. The crucial point here is the number of people who believe something has zero bearing on whether it's actually true.
And our third fallacy is another one you'll recognize instantly: the appeal to authority. This happens when someone tries to win an argument, not with evidence, but just by quoting some authority figure. The real trick, though, is that the authority they're citing often has no actual expertise on the topic at hand. This is basically the entire business model of celebrity endorsements, right? Jennifer Aniston might be a phenomenal actor, and she might even have incredible hair. But when she tells you L'Oreal is the best shampoo, she's speaking as a paid spokesperson, not as a trichologist, a scientist who actually studies hair. Her authority in acting doesn't just transfer over to hair care science. So, this all leads to the really big question. If these fallacies are such obvious, illegal moves, if their logic is so clearly busted, then why are they so incredibly common? Why are they so effective? Why do they seem to win arguments all the time in the real world?
Well, the answer isn't really in logic, it's in psychology. And it's in the systems that have been built to exploit that psychology. Bad arguments work because they are perfectly engineered to hijack the mental shortcuts our brains use every single day just to make sense of a really complicated world.
So what makes us such easy targets? Well, for one, our brains are hardwired to use these shortcuts, called heuristics, to make quick judgments, and fallacies mimic those shortcuts. Then you've got confirmation bias. We all instinctively look for information that confirms what we already think. Plus, a powerful emotional appeal can just short-circuit our logical brain entirely. And finally, that wisdom of the crowds? Yeah, that can become collective folly real fast, especially when social media algorithms get involved. So, what's the big takeaway here? The point of learning all this isn't to become some unbeatable debater who just crushes everyone. That's not the goal. The real goal is to see the chessboard clearly. It's about understanding the game that's being played, recognizing the moves, and spotting those hidden traps. When you understand these rules, it's like you get X-ray vision for arguments. You start to see the hidden architecture behind all the words. You can tell the difference between an argument that's built on a solid foundation and one that's just persuasive but designed to fall apart. It gives you back a critical layer of visibility in a world that's just drowning in persuasion. And I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if the arguments that feel the most compelling, the ones that spread like wildfire and hit the hardest, what if they aren't the most logical at all? What if they're just the ones with the most cleverly disguised traps? And that right there, that's the crisis in perception we explore. So many of us assume that if an argument is persuasive, it must be logically sound. But when you analyze the system, you see this huge gap between what works rhetorically and what's actually valid. And when we can't see that distinction, flawed reasoning can just take over. This project is free and publicly accessible for everyone. If you get value out of our work and you'd like to support the time and research that goes into it, you can find us over on Patreon. And hey, if you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please do us a favor and like, subscribe, and, most importantly, let us know in the comments what books or topics you think we should explore next.